That's my boy. Hi, sweetie.
Hello, artists. How are you today? Stephanie Aune coming to you here from the banks of the Trinity River. Ozzy and I welcome you to the studio. We're so happy you're here with us today. So we are working on just a 2-page spread, and we are going to be working with these mica tiles. You can get them on Amazon. They're about $15 for the larger sheets. Now, here I was experimenting with different types of glues on these mica tiles to try to create ripple effects. And I did it on that particular one with Fabri-Tac. And it dried very cool. I also had tried diamond glue and hot glue gun to see what I liked the best in order to make kind of those ripples. So we've got 2 sturdy pages here, which is 3, 4, 5 pages glued together, and I covered them with ephemera, my favorite French to English dictionary that's basically pretty ancient. And here I have this, I think it's a snakeskin stencil actually, and I have no idea who it's from or anything else about it. And then I have some of my homemade texture paste. I do have a video to make a 5-minute texture paste. I swear, guys, it's super easy, and there is no reason to ever buy texture paste again. All you have to have is some baby powder and some glue and some gesso. So it's very easy to make yourself, and you don't have to pay those more expensive prices. It lasts a really long time, too. I was kind of getting down to the barrel. It's best probably not to use your, what is that thing called, bone folder? It is a plastic bone folder. It's probably best to use a palette knife. But with that snakeskin, now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of smoothing out parts that I don't want as crisp. So with landscapes, and with a lot of images that we create, you can divide the page into thirds. So there'll be 1/3 for the background, 1/3 for the middle ground, and 1/3 for the foreground. The foreground we want to have be the most crisp. So the middle ground I blurred out just a little bit, and those are going to be the rocks that are under the water. And here I have this beautiful rock stencil. Trying to think of who it's by. Again, I'm really bad at that. I just buy stencils and I take them out of the packaging and then I put them, in my bin, and that's just kind of where they stay. I guess I didn't like how that had turned out. I must have put it down with white gesso, and it just wasn't enough of a, it wasn't thick enough, I think is kind of what happened there. So now I'm just kind of taking that white gesso and wiping it off a bit, but then also going through and filling in some of those cracks. I'm also making sure the texture paste is not thick in the center of that particular page. The thicker something is in the center, the worse the book is going to close. So it just puts pressure on our book. So now I'm trying a second try. The white background, especially if I'm sure it was gesso. The white background really works well for putting the paint down. So, which, as we know, the gesso gives us a little bit of tooth. So even when we're working in those thirds, foreground, middle ground, background, we still want to think about creating depth. So in each of those thirds. So in the fore background, we have more intense colors and we have sharper shapes. And that will help to create depth, and it'll kind of help to make those back rocks stick back just a little bit. Now the color that I put down was a mixture of probably ultramarine blue and like a burnt sienna would be my guess. A nice dark gray color. You could use Payne's gray, a little ultramarine or a little, again, sienna. They make great mixture of colors. So here I'm just kind of creating the water's edge on the far side of the shore. And I'm bringing in a little bit more white gesso to just kind of place my water's edge. When the water hits the edge of the rocks, it creates a ripple, I guess. And as it creates that ripple, it turns white. So that's why always on shorelines or the opposite side of the shore, you'll see a lot of white. Also where the light catches in. So here I'm bringing in a little bit of, looks like it's an ultramarine blue. It could be maybe a Prussian blue. The exact colors don't really matter. What's important is it's kind of already creating a reflection back there. Now, you do also want to have a little bit darker color around the corners, which will bring people's eye in. I think that's what I'm trying to do here. But I'm also trying to come in with some smaller shapes. So it just gives interest. The paint underneath is still a little bit wet, so as I put down some of this white, then it's really creating that rocky shoreline. Everything has to stay very cool back in the background. We don't want it to come in front, so we want to be sure that we're forcing the viewer's perspective, the viewer's eye, not to focus on that background, but to see it and to read it correctly. And as artists, we really have that ability to trick the eye. And that's basically what we do here, is we just, by understanding, how color works, it really makes a big difference in our artwork. Here I'm using titanium white. Again, just dragging that white highlight along the back shore, because I do want people's eye to go to the middle of the painting. As you can see here, we have some raw paper still underneath that blue stencil, the rocks there in the foreground, which will be actually underwater. And in the end piece, you can still see some type. And I really love that about this piece, how transparent it becomes. And just working some ripples, some darks, some lights. It does help. Oh no, I messed it up. Okay, I guess we'll wait till next week. See you later, everybody. Have a good week. Bye-bye.